Morning, everybody. We're only a half hour late today. It's Tuesday, it's breakfast time, so of course this is my regular routine, as you all know. I do this every day, 5 days a week, and I go out to breakfast on the weekends. So, here's what we're having today. We've got thin cut pork chops, they'll cook quick. I've got my usual array of vegetables, including some cauliflower and some already nuked off new potatoes. Of course, I've got my eggs and I've got my power greens. But our big surprise today, the additions, I made some lamb tagine last night. All the spices I used were a gift from a friend who went to Marrakesh. So she went to Marrakesh and I didn't, and she brought me back spices. At least it wasn't a t-shirt. So that's good news. But what we're going to do is use a little bit of that juice from that tagine that I made yesterday as our main flavor ingredient for today's thing. What's in here is carrots, onion, celery, lamb, chicken stock, and all these spices, cooked in a little bit of garlic oil. So, all nice and natural, no dairy, no gluten, and no sugar. There is some potatoes cooked in there. Now we're serving it with pork, which of course, if you were in the Middle East, would cause somebody major chaos, but we're in the United States, so we can get away with it. So in any case, off we go. Start cranking up the pans. Remember, my potatoes have already been a little bit nuked, so they're already soft, and I cooked them for about 2.5 minutes. And these are fingerlings, essentially, so you get to see some purple in there, some interesting colors. It's all good. Who cares? And I'm just going to cut those up for saute while the pan's heating up. And we're having cauliflower today too, because I want to use up the last of these florets, so I'm cutting these up nice and small too. Now, as I've mentioned before, I usually do this for one. Today my camera person, Jody, is right behind you, and she's getting ready to eat as well, so I'm making enough food for 2 people. And as always, the biggest emphasis is making sure that I have more vegetables than any other single ingredient. So, mushrooms, already washed. And this is the last mushrooms in my fridge, so I'm using them up. Just like it's the last of the cauliflower in my fridge, so I'm using it up. Why not? So if you're asking me why did you use that amount, the answer is because that's how much was left over. I like cutting these in half so I can lay them flat. Makes them easy to cut. Now, pork chops have been dried a little bit with paper towels, kept away from the cutting board. And the seasoning is going to be salt and pepper, so I'm just going to keep them right on their little handy carrying tray. And that way, I don't have to do any extra maintenance cleanup with raw protein issues. So I'll dry and season the other side as soon as it goes in the pan. We're using garlic oil today, just as a good flavor, change of pace. And put in just enough to coat the pan generously. And believe it or not, the first thing that goes in is the potatoes. They're already cooked, but they take the longest to get a nice brown on them, so I want to make sure they get nice and brown, so they're going to go in first. And since we're cooking for 2, and you can smell that garlic, can't you? Mm-hmm. There you go. A touch of seasoning on those. Heating up my vegetable pan, and now the pork chops go in. And so I'm leaving just enough room, hopefully, for all these guys to fit in there. These are 1/2 inch thick. There's no reason why it should take more than about 5 minutes to cook. Just trying to make sure they all fit. So sometimes it's a game of inches. Just enough to make everything fit. And there we go. Now, a little more dry, and the dryness keeps them from sticking. So moisture is what's going to make these pork chops stick, a little bit of dry, and they're going to get a nicer brown, and they're going to have less stick. And pepper. That's going to go fast. So now with my other pan heated up, we're going to start our cauliflower, which is going to take the longest to cook. So again, we talked about this before, but it's very important to remind us, the vegetables saute, the vegetables go in the reverse order of how long they take to cook. So the cauliflower goes first. So now it's time to cut up my onions and my peppers, which, if you're a regular visitor of this show, you know I happen to love. And that's my onion for tomorrow. Onions. Oh, rogue mushroom. Got a little spot on my pepper there. And there's tomorrow's breakfast. And we do have a little semi-cooked off bacon that we're just going to throw in here too, just because we can. Had it left over from a little party I threw. Why not? As you can see, it's about halfway cooked. So, just going to chop it up and let it finish in with the rest of the food. There we go. Give me just enough time for my cauliflower to be cooking, so in goes the peppers and onions. And salt, pepper, and of course turmeric. Beautiful little pork chops. They'll be done in about a minute. We're only cooking a medium. Give those potatoes a little stir. But I want to make sure the pork chops are sitting on the bottom of the pan. So if I have to move my potatoes around a little bit, make room. There we go. My wife hates that I get food outside the pan. Who can blame her? Let's flip those turned over. And I'm just looking for those onions to get translucent. This will be another moment or so. In the meantime, need a little delivery system for our Tagine sauce, so I'm just digging around for a little spoon or something. There we go. And if a little bit of the lamb and vegetables end up going along for the ride, oh well. Pork chops are done. So this gets cranked down. Pork chops come out. I'm going to start heating up my omelet pan. And I'm just going to let those potatoes sit in there and bask in their glory. And you can see here, onions are starting to change color, get a little translucent. That's all I was looking for. Pan juggling here. And with that look, oh, let's just put the bacon in with potatoes. There we go. Why not? And then we can put a tiny bit of heat under those. Let that bacon just cook a little bit more. Okay, so home stretch. Greens. And we're going to use the last of them today since we're cooking for two. Every once in a while you might find a little rogue that's not happy anymore. So we're going to make him go away. There we go. The hardest part about putting this many greens in is turning things over. So we want to be careful about that. What we're going to do, get our hands in there, and I'm literally going to hold those greens with my hand as I turn over those vegetables on the bottom. Try to get some of those vegetables on top and some of those greens on the bottom. There we go. There we go. Sauteed greens is the secret to my success. And now that gets cranked down. And here comes the sauce. Again, this is fairly liquidy, but we're just going to put enough on there to moisten everything up. That's it. The rest is going back in the fridge for dinner tonight. And while that's simmering off and the pan's getting hot, we'll do a quick cleanup. And it's good enough to eat. Of course, that's the goal. Oh, I forgot the mushrooms. Well, let's get those cooked real quick. I got a hot pan. Just throw them right in here. And do a quick saute on the mushrooms in the omelet pan. That's going to slow me down by about a minute. Just a pinch of salt. One of the things people ask me is, when do I season? And I always say I season what I see needs seasoning. So since I just put raw mushrooms in a pan, put in a touch of salt. Potatoes already have a little seasoning on them. And we do have a bit of a three-ring circus going on today, but that's the way it goes. We want everything in here. So as soon as those mushrooms start to soften, I can throw them in with the rest and then resume with the eggs. If you look over here, you see I'm starting to buy eggs 24 at a time. I didn't even know this is something new in the store. Having bigger crates. I guess somebody got the memo that eggs are okay. You always notice that the mushrooms drink up the oil. That's just something they do. So they're like little sponges. I'm just going to put a little extra virgin olive oil in there to let them finish off. And like I said, I'm just going to soften them up. That's all I want. I don't want them raw. And I got super low temperature on all my other stuff, so we create a little spot for those guys to transfer over. They're almost softened up. There we go. You can see they shrink, they change color a little bit, and of course the thinner you slice them, the quicker they cook. And that's something we talk about all the time. And they also start to get a little louder as they cook because they're releasing juices, and that juice is, of course, sizzling on the bottom of the pan. There's our softened mushrooms, and away we go. For those of you who know me, this is goat butter. And salt, and away we go. So, we got pork chops, we got potatoes and bacon, because everything's better with bacon, right guys? This is Jody so she gets a little more bacon. There we go. Half the veggies. Do the mushrooms. Cook the eggs. And while that's finishing up, I'll get my plate started. We're just getting, as we like them, firm whites and soft yolks, which is, by definition, over medium. And you can see the yolks are shaken, the whites aren't. Breakfast is ready. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on the flip side.